Okay, this one is for you pond lovers. We're talking summertime plants and what we should be adding at this time of year to make sure our pond stays happy and healthy all season. So we're talking lotus, tropical lilies, hyacinths, anything that we need to be paying attention to for summer, and inadvertently some of the best flowering plants of the season. Okay, it is early June, or rather, 4th of July has just passed in 2023. And so in classic New England fashion, we went long, dreary, cool spring, and all of a sudden now the temperatures walked ticking up. So in typical fashion, we have to switch from how do I warm up my pond because I'm having water quality issues to now how do I make sure my pond doesn't overheat in the summertime. So there's lots of plants called specifically tropical lilies, water lilies in general. You want to be thinking about for summertime is shading your water surface. So old books used to say 50 to 75% of your water surface should just be covered in plant material. I'm not a big proponent on that. There's some benefits to it, but I like to be able to see my fish. I like to see in and out of my pond. And so as long as you have a decent amount of coverage on your surface, you're fine. If we lived in a southern area where water temperatures typically got higher or hotter than up here in Rhode Island, I would be worrying about it. But here, as long as I have 25 to 30% water coverage, I'm really fine with that. The key is, what do I want to look at? Lotus are just coming into bloom. Actually, they're not even bloom. We've got some beautiful lotus that are just kind of finally kicking in. We were so cool, they like it warm, so they're kicking out flower buds, they're growing. They're something that's fun to put in your pond in the summertime, but they're not the crown jewel. To me, the crown jewel of water plants for summertime are tropical water lilies. So let me show you the difference of them side by side so you can really gain the benefits. So these are classic, what we refer to as hardy water lilies. In the pond worlds, we have hardies and tropicals. A hardy water lily, you can tell it's a hardy by the edges of the ground are nice and typically smooth. Whereas a tropical lily tends to have a serrated edge around the perimeter. And a hardy lily, the flowers will sit right there on the surface once they stop flowering. Whereas tropical lilies, the flower stems typically stand 6 to 8 inches up above the water level. But these tropical lilies, the benefits to them is not only are they going to get big and thick, and they're just going to keep sending out leaves. So I tend to find they're just more aggressive by nature. And so not only are we going to get more pads, they tend to be very thick and lush pads, but it's a flowering machine. So when a customer asks me, do I want a hardy lily that's going to come back year over year, or do I want a tropical lily? I tell them it all depends on the colors. I want colors. And so the tropical lilies give us the purples and as close to blue as we're going to get. But you can see in this particular case, I have one flower that's open. I have one that's just about to start stretching to the surface. One slightly behind that. There's another one there, right there, just starting to come out. And I guarantee if I poked around even more, I'd find another bud. These things are going to flower nonstop all through summer. And they're just starting to kick in, but you can see we're going to get some of the purples and the light lavenders, and then some of the, you get some of the traditional whites and golds. But the other beauty is there's even a few in the mix that are night blooming. You're not going to get these colors typically in hardy lilies. So when it comes to summertime, most of you know what a hyacinth is. So hyacinths are just a floating plant that's going to sit on the surface. They're going to grow like mad. And that's another tool that we use. You can see right here, I'll flip over. These are hyacinths. If you let them go, this is what your entire pond will look like. A tropical lily will never get that aggressive. But this is a workhorse in a pond because you put some in now and they're just going to start growing across the surface. When they get too aggressive, you rip them off, throw them in the compost. But tropical lilies are never going to get out of grown. They're never going to grow out of that space. And this is just because we're a little too crowded into the tank. But give them space, let them stretch out, and they're going to flower nonstop all season for you. Now I know I'm bouncing around a bit today. It's just because there's so many cool things to put in your pond in the summertime. All spring and into the fall, we're kind of looking at hardies, things that are going to come back. And I typically follow the 2/3 rule. I plant up, whether I'm planting up a landscape or if I'm planting up a pond, I do 2/3 of it in hardies or perennials, things that are going to come back year after year. But then I save a room for that last third to get some of these tropical plants in it. Because right now I'm looking at plants that not only just like the heat, but also protect from the pond overheating. But we're not even looking at some of the decorative plants for the edge. There's Society Garlic that's got a cool variegated foliage that's going to kick out little pink flowers all summer long. You can add canna to the pond to get a little bit of height and some variegation into the foliage. There's lots of different tropical plants. The key is with most water plants is you do want to fertilize, and most people don't realize how to do it. So we'll dive into fertilizing and how to keep plants looking good down the road. But right now, the key is to be thinking about, look at your pond. Do you want some cool textures? Do you need to break up the monotony of just some passive plants around the edges? Now's the time to kind of work in just a few tropical lilies, a few tropical water plants. There's even lots of landscape plants that can be used as aquatic plants. So we can walk you through all that. But now's the time to be looking at it saying, okay, I want something that looks cool and different, but at the same time, I want to make sure that a month from now, if the heat's really kicking in, how do I keep my fish happy from overheating? That means just put a few plants in now that are strategic, that are going to start creeping across the water surface, shading that water all summer long and keeping it from overheating. You can always thin them back if they get too aggressive. But it's really expensive to all of a sudden wait till the heat's kicking in and then saying, oh, I need lots of coverage, and now you got to buy twice as many plants as opposed to buying a few small ones and letting them grow. So that's it. Have some fun, make it look nice, but at the same time, really pay attention. Do you want flowers? Do you want color? Do you want unique textures? Now's the time to have some fun over the summer. All right, I hope that helps. Take care.